And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, September 2nd. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources from around North America. American Indians gathered at Mount Rushmore National Memorial to mark 40 years since the forebears occupied the memorial as a political statement about disputed land claims to the Black Hills. On August 29, 1970, 23 Native Americans occupied the monument, some of them setting up camp for 3 months atop the mountain. It feels good that we had people who stood up and risked being arrested, losing their freedom at a place that represents freedom, said Robert Cook, former president of the National Indian Education Association. Those who gathered August 29 said some of the same issues involving tribal sovereignty and treaty rights remain today. Over the past 40 years, a lot has changed, but a lot hasn't, Andrew Ironshell said. I find myself fighting the same battles that my father and grandfather fought. The U.S. government, more than a century ago, set aside the Black Hills for the Sioux through the Fort Laramie Treaty, but the land was taken by miners about a decade later when gold was discovered. The Supreme Court in 1980 ruled that the Black Hills were illegally taken and that restitution should be paid, but the Great Sioux Nation and its members has refused the settlement to date. The latest in a tangled series of state and federal court decisions has halted New York State's plan to collect taxes on cigarettes sold by Native American retailers to non-Indian customers. A state appellate court judge in western New York on September 1st restored an order stopping the collections. Governor David Paterson's office announced an earlier order had been lifted this last Monday by a state judge, a decision appealed by the Seneca and the Cayuga Nations. Those tribes won a federal court order August 30th temporarily barring collections against them, but the state said it would start imposing the $4.35 per pack charge and levy on their reservation retailers starting this Wednesday. The Seneca staged a rally on Wednesday, September 1st against the tax. The tribes say it violates their sovereignty and threatens their financial well-being. Attempts to collect the tax in the 1990s resulted in a sometimes violent protest and fires on Seneca territories. State officials have been reluctant to push the issue since then. And we go to the Red Cliff Chippewa Reservation, where IndianCountryTV.com reporter Lonnie Barber caught up with vice chairman of the Red Cliff Chippewa tribe, and where they are announcing their plans for a brand new casino.
Mr. Defoe, you have some information, news you want to share with us?
Yes, I do. Bonjour. My name, again, as he said, Marvin Defoe, vice chairman, Red Cliff tribe. I'm sitting here in Red Cliff. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Shakopee tribe for their assistance to our tribe in realizing a 30-year dream of our community. We're in the stages right now of having a groundbreaking ceremony October 1st for this project. This particular project is will allow our tribal membership to provide jobs for our community and also economic stimulus, if you will. And it's kind of interesting that from one tribe helping out another tribe, I think that is the stimulus that this community needed. In return, our tribe has set some guiding principles that first and foremost, our tribal membership, to provide jobs for our tribal membership. Secondly, the pay it forward, if you will. The generosity from another tribe to us, to pay it forward is to, maybe there's some native-owned companies out there also. Certainly we would welcome the native companies to be a part of our project also. The site, as you can see, the background of Lake Superior, actually the site, the picture you're seeing right now is going to be the picture that you're going to see in every room of our hotel.
A program designed to help Native American and other underrepresented K through 12 students in their transition to post-secondary education has been renewed. The South Dakota College Access Challenge program will provide $1.5 million annually for the next 5 years to inform students and families about post-high school opportunities. The program includes a financial component to link students with possible scholarships and grants, and it helps families with the free application for federal student aid process. Many of the targeted students will be the first generation in their families to attend college. The Fort Totten Community College is expanding in phases. Enrollment at the tribal college has grown from 130 students a few years ago to an anticipated 250 this fall. Facilities Director Philip Lewis says the campus is expanding to keep up, going from 30,000 square feet a few years ago to 80,000 square feet now. It is expected to be 120,000 square feet by next spring. Expansion of the North Dakota facility includes an early childhood learning center, a multi-purpose complex, and a student union. The estimated cost of $8 million is to be paid through mostly federal grants. The college is also seeking money for student housing. And we also talked briefly with Dan Agin, a former editor of the Cherokee Phoenix and various other public relations positions for tribes and organizations, who speaks briefly about his use of the growing Sequoyah National Research Center located at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
So Dan, tell us a little bit about your experience of utilizing the Sequoyah Research Institute.
Okay, well, of course, it's the primary repository of all Native American publications and newspapers. The files include the first issues of the first Native American newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, published in 1828. Also, as far as we know, the first bilingual publication in the Western Hemisphere. It also includes the 146 of 154 of the 3 series of the Cherokee Advocates, which was the first newspaper published in Indian Territory after the removal from our southeastern homeland. And of course, it's a great resource when you're doing any study of Native American journalism. It includes the publications you've edited, the publications all of our colleagues have edited, Mark Trahant, and various people. One of the primary uses that I've made of it is we had an exhibition called Phoenix Rising at the Cherokee Heritage Center last summer, and it was an invaluable resource to research the history of Cherokee journalism, identify all of the editors, their time frame, and it was made for a very comprehensive exhibition that we had. So that's one of the best examples I can give, but I've also written, a variety of articles about the Cherokee Phoenix, Cherokee Advocate, and Cherokee journalism, and it's been a primary resource.
And finally, today we end with an interesting note. River running took a new meaning this past Monday as 9-year-old water skier Amber Hajdukovich skimmed across the calm waters of the Chena River, powered by a 6-member sled dog team running along a sandbar. Amber's best water ski run lasted 17 seconds before the dog team, led by Yukon Quest musher Brent Sass, ran out of sandbar and into the shallows. Bystanders watching from across the river at Campoo's riverbank boat landing laughed and cheered at the spectacle, all part of a hastily put together lineup of stupid Alaskan tricks for a New York media developer and cameraman who were on hand for the display, and 4 other uniquely Alaskan specialties. Monica Clark, 17, pulled 10 chin-ups on a moose rack supported by a forklift. Scott Sisk filleted a Tanana River king salmon blindfolded. Ray Harding Catarioke downed a quarter-pound of mucktuck in record time. In Troy, Conlon chainsaw a buffed bust of former Governor Sarah Palin out of a large spruce log. All were done with style, grace, and good humor by locals and aired live on radio station KXLR FM 95.9. They also had lined up a World Eskimo Indian Olympics champion ear pole to pull an ATV with his ear. But the champion got an out-of-town job that kept him from the lineup. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for coming by. Stop by again soon. Miigwech.